Give us about a minute, administration, because we just came back from a consultation, and I'll explain to you how today's meeting is going to go, or the continuance of our meeting. So give us about a minute, because anyways. Oh, oh, is it on? We're all good? Okay. Oh, sorry. Aloha and welcome, everyone. We are now opening up the meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee of June 25th, 2025, and today we'll continue the meeting of June 23rd, which was recessed for today. Make a motion to open the meeting, please. And roll call, please.
Trustee Ahuna excused. Trustee Akina excused. Trustee Akaka.
Here.
Trustee Galutaria excused. Trustee Lindsay. Trustee Souza excused. Trustee Kahele excused. Vice Chair Wahe'e. And Chair Lapa.
Present.
Okay, we have 4 trustees present.
Okay, mahalo, Pohai. On the agenda today is a reminder, action item BF number 25-44, approval of the OHA biennium budget for the fiscal biennium periods of 2025-2026, which is the fiscal year of 2026, and 2026-2027, fiscal year of 2027, to include salary adjustments for existing personnel, the addition, modification, and deletion of positions, updates to OHA's organizational chart, and related amendments to program structures and resource allocations. At this time, I'd like to say a few words before we begin. I'd like to thank, first of all, everyone who has returned for the continuation of the Budget and Finance Committee from the June 23rd, 2025 meeting. Your presence underscores the importance of completing the business outlined on today's agenda. As previously noted, public testimony has been closed and will now proceed with hearing from the administration regarding their responses to the proposed budget put forth by the Board of Trustees. As chair of the Budget Finance Committee, I believe it is essential to provide OHA's executive leadership and staff the opportunity to communicate how the proposed budget changes may impact their operations, strategic priorities, and service to our lahui. Their input is critical part of the decision-making process. So for trustees who are not in attendance today, I strongly encourage you to view the official meeting recording online. It'll provide important context and insight into how the budget adjustments we are scheduled to vote on Monday may affect the organization's capacity to carry its mission. At this time, I'd like to turn the floor over. I'd like to turn the floor over to our board advisor, Naivi Werdeman. And she has a few words to explain what they have, he and our OHA counsel Everett has come across in regards to this unusual situation we're in. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just know for the record, there was only 4 present, right, today, Madam Secretary, which means we don't have a quorum.
Correct.
to conduct business. Under HRS 92 2.5 D, board members present at a meeting, let me get the right language, that must be canceled for lack of quorum or terminated pursuant to section 92 3.5C, which is not the case here, may nonetheless receive testimony and presentations on items on the agenda in question of testifiers or presenters. That's discretionary with the chair as to what can be done when there's quorum. The chair has indicated that she wishes to, we've already heard public testimony on Monday. The chair has indicated, however, that she intends to allow the presentation under that subsection I just referred to. And once the presentation is made, that it was her intention to then adjourn because we don't have quorum.
Yes, exactly.
Coupled with, and I'm unaware of what is going to be presented or intended to be presented other than what's in the board meeting packet. I asked Mr. Ota to look into that issue on whatever else may be done, and he has sought OIP guidance. So based on whatever guidance was provided to him and in discussions with him, I expect that it's consistent with the guidance. Whatever is going to be presented is consistent with the guidance that he received from the Office of Information Practices. Correct, Ms. Oda?
Yes. Good afternoon, Chair Lapa, members, and board council. I confirm that I did consult with OIP regarding what can be presented today. Administration will be presenting on changes to the biennium budget, which is agendized for the continued meeting from Monday. And it's also going to be on materials that weren't included in the board packet, but which will be covered by administration anew today. So this is permissible based on my consultation with OIP. Thank you.
And if I may add, whatever I believe the case to be that a presentation will be made by the administration come the next meeting of the board. So coupled with whatever
We hear today.
is being heard today.
Yeah.
So I just want to make clear what my understanding of this process is.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to call upon Kapuana Stacy Ferraro to begin your opening statements and your presentation.
Mahalo. Would you like me to do a roll call of who's in the room in terms of, or just go straight into my remarks? Up to you.
Yeah, it might as well. At least we'll know who is able to attend today, and I know who's in the
Okay.
room.
So this is not a comprehensive list.
Nope.
This is just the list of our ELT members and our directors. So joining us in person and online, we have our Chief Operating Officer, Kehao Pu'u, our Endowment Director, Ryan Lee, Interim Corporation Counsel, Everett Ota, Senior Director of Strategy and Implementation, Elena Farden, Senior Director of Hawaiian Cultural Affairs, Hailama Farden, Director of Advocacy, Lena Alale, Director of Uiwi Wellbeing and Aina Momona, Kuike Kamakea Ohelo, Director of Education and Culture-Based Learning, Anuhea Awo-Chun, Director of Economics and Business Resilience, Pony Askew, Director of Community Engagement, Lisa Von Sekona, Director of Communications, Bill Brennan, Operations Manager, Royce Campbell, Senior IT System Engineer and Administrator, Kevin Chalk, and IT Systems Engineer and Administrator, Daniel Santos, along with BOT aides, as well as numerous other administrative staff. Mahalo, Chair.
Mahalo, Kapuana. All right, at this time, you may proceed.
Mahalo. Aloha e Chair Alapa, Vice Chair Waihe'e, and trustees. Mahalo nui for the opportunity to offer remarks prior to the start of our PAYA's impact statements. As fiduciaries of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, each of us carries the kuleana to uphold the highest standards of diligence, integrity, and trust. The biennium budget is more than a financial document. It is a reflection of our collective laulima to malama the trust in a manner that ensures sustained benefit for our lahui. I come before you today in the interest of operating in our oha value of pono and with deep aloha and concern for the process by which the current version of the budget, dated June 18th, was brought forward for your consideration. While the goal that we all have may be noble, the path that has been taken has significant implications operationally and ethically. The administration, composed of dedicated professionals entrusted with statutory responsibilities and technical expertise, was not consulted in the development of this 618 version. This is not merely a procedural oversight. It represents a missed opportunity to draw on collective knowledge, ensure accuracy, and uphold our obligation to transparency for our trustees, staff, and beneficiaries.
Okay, Kapuana, thank you. Can we get right to the budget as I've been advised by Naivi?
But this
Presentation.
This is the context for the impact statements.
Are you complete? Finished?
No, I'm about to be complete.
Okay, just finish a few last sentences.
Okay. This is regarding this is the context for the
The action
concurrent.
item of our
Yeah,
budget.
these are the concerns. These are part of the impact statement concerns of the budget.
Okay, go ahead and
Mahalo.
finish it.
By contrast, the administration's 6-3 budget version underwent extensive review, refinement, and full board engagement over 2 weeks. The 618 version, by comparison, was restructured over 3 weeks without similar transparency or shared deliberation, and this creates an imbalance in process and perception. To move forward without a clear record of justifications, methodologies, or mapping between the two versions presents multiple risks. Operationally, programs may be affected by changes not fully understood by those charged with implementing them. Fiduciarily, trustees may be exposed to liability for approving a budget
Kapuana.
without adequate vetting, as
Kapuana.
highlighted in OHA's audit report, number 18-03.
Finish? Because I've been advised that we should get right to the budget as needed.
Okay, so I'm not clear on why I'm not able to express from the chief executive officer.
What is going to be presented in a budget without any kind of. Thank you. We're here today to present the administration's
Impact.
presentation about the budget that's before the budget committee currently, and whatever additionally may be presented to the Board of Trustees should be presented at the appropriate time. As to whether or not it's up to the Board of Trustees to determine from what the presentation is in giving your presentation of what is included in the budget and the action item to determine whether or not these are issues that or the proposed budget is something that they want to approve or not approve and take a vote, but they need to be informed of what exactly the action item is before them, and so that they can make those decisions. So what I'm advising the committee chair is to please provide to us what the administration's proposal is to the board, and whatever amendments or anything else subsequent to it, that's an issue for the board to consider at the appropriate time. But we would like, in consultation with the committee chair, it's my understanding that we're here to hear your presentation on the biennium budget and what you presented to the board for its consideration.
Mahalo for that.
Chair, Kaleakaka.
Mahalo. Can we also have Everett Ota join us to
Mahalo.
opine on this matter?
Yes.
As well as, I'm trying to get an understanding here because I hear what you're saying, Naivine, at the same time. Is it where you're trying to share the
I'm trying-
process as to
exactly.
how?
So if the
this is-
impact statements are about the amendments, but part of the issue is the process.
So,
If I may, as far as rendering legal opinions, that's not for the, non-lawyers in the room, I believe, to be, advising the board of. So in that sense, that should be left to counsel, and, to address at the appropriate time, and not for the, CEO to be presenting as to what the CEO believes as their, fiduciary duties, or, what may be lacking thereof. That is the, trustees' request of counsel to be asking those types of questions.
Yeah, that wasn't very clear to me in terms of what's being required.
Trustee Akaka, I know you had asked for Everett. Did you want him to come to the table? Everett, if you will, please.
Thank you, Chair.
Well, I mean, if there's a motion to go into executive session at this point, that's one thing, but, remember, we also have, attorney-client, Mr. Ota, responsibilities here. And any discussions about, what may or may not be, permissible, should be done, in view of keeping the attorney-client communications, appropriately observed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Waterman, regarding that. If there's a matter that you believe needs to be discussed, between the board members and council, then, I mean, I would certainly defer to in your position as board counsel. I think what Kapohana was looking to do was provide context for the comments of administration to be provided. I don't see them as being made in terms of advice to the board members. But to the extent that it is, I don't believe that's being construed in that way. I think it is what is helpful to the board to receive in terms of this information. And again, if there's anything for consultation between council and the trust and this board, then that can be also handled separately. Although I don't know how that will occur, given that there is not currently quorum before the board.
Okay, so at this time, let's proceed so I can hear what they have to say. All of us are here for that purpose, and I want to hear what our administrator and her side and all people that are here to prepare their side of what they would like to contribute to the biennium budget. We're able to proceed from here, correct?
Chair, are you?
Yes.
allowing me to
So
finish?
yes, please
Allowing me
finish
to
up and let's get through this. It's getting irritating. Yeah, I understand.
So to move forward without a clear record of justifications, methodologies, or mapping between the two versions presented multiple risks. Operationally, programs may be affected by changes not fully understood by those charged with implementing them, such as our staff. Fiduciarily, students, trustees may be exposed to liability for approving a budget without adequate vetting, as highlighted in the OHA audit. Culturally, we risk eroding the values of Pono and Kuleana that must guide our service to the Lahui. Mahalo to those of you who have opened the space for the administration to speak today. Like the state of Hawaii legislative budget process, responsible governance requires hearing from those closest to the work. Impact statements are not bureaucratic formalities. They are vital insights that allow trustees to understand how budget decisions affect services, community trust, and long-term outcomes. I'll end it there.
At this time, you can begin with calling upon your,
So I'll start off first.
go ahead.
Chair. So
Please.
before you, you have a summary of differences for the CEO office from fiscal year 26-27 biennium budget. Again, because it is extremely confusing, we have two budgets that are not aligned side by side. What I've done and what I've asked the directors and the ELT members to do is to provide you reference page numbers and line numbers so that you can basically go between the two documents.
Thank you for
But
that.
I'm gonna keep it high level, and just express to you that, budget items 1 and 2 were items that were deleted. And these were, this was an appropriation that was requested by the CEO's office for funding for Hawaiian Kingdom and Crown and government lands inventory. It was 500,000 for each fiscal year. This was for a legislative match, and it was deleted. I find that highly problematic because in this new version, when things are deleted, then trustees have no accounting for what the original request is. The impact for these two deleted items are that these are OHA PLT working group priorities, and there was no consultation or discussion afforded before the deletions were made. Okay. Number 3, this particular budget item was reduced without consultation. This was for subscriptions. The numbers were reduced for the subscriptions from 50 to 40, and then 30 were added to the BOT line. There are no notes, so we're not very clear on why the reductions were made. Number 4, there were reductions made. And this is important because this is salaries and fringe. So numbers 4 and 5, reductions in both. Again, no notations for the reductions. Because these are salaries and fringe, I mean, this is extremely important to our staff who are reviewing this information. And again, without knowing why the reductions were made, it's very difficult to understand the impacts on staff.
Okay, hold on for a sec. Yes, Naibi would.
Yes. Again, I express again the same concerns. We as the board, the trustees, can make ultimately through a vote modifications to whatever the administration provides. It's the board's responsibility to adopt a budget. And whatever concerns or conjecture there may be, I don't think is pertinent.
It's absolutely
I think what
pertinent.
is pertinent is what is the administration, what did they present to the board? And I think it was done in public briefing, is my understanding. What was presented to the board, and the board, once the administration presents the proposed budget, the board, it's the board's duty to review what the administration presented and make whatever within its fiduciary duties and consistent with its legal requirements, make adjustments through votes and consideration and due diligence and deliberation as to what they ultimately would like the to adopt as far as the budget goes. So my advice, and ultimately you're the committee chair, my advice is that, the, administration should be presenting what it proposed was the,
Original
proposed
intent.
budget as it presented to the board for clarification, and allow the administration to present why it believed that that was appropriate, what they presented. And, that should be the, subject of their testimony.
That's not the process, Naive.
Okay, so go ahead. I know you had to make comment.
Mahalo. And I just I wanna respond to what the council just said.
No, we're
I-
not gonna,
I-
unless we're going into executive session,
So
we're
so
not
the
gonna get
process
it
that was just explained,
out of order.
the,
Okay, Stacy?
the process that was explained
We-
was not correct.
Okay, so here's the thing, and then I'd like to ask my fellow trustees. Go ahead, trustee Kaka.
My understanding is that, with this process, is that the trustees, as fiduciaries are made, available, all the important information from administration, on this budget so that we can move forward as best as we can.
And that's what we're seeking.
Yeah.
We're seeking them to make a presentation as to what they're presenting to the
Yeah,
board.
so given the material that is provided to us, I'm recommending for context. And so it's made very clear and to, I would say, simplify this process. I'm requesting that we have the red line version of what has been changed with from
June 3rd.
the June 3rd to the newest version of the budget, as well as the notes to give context as to why these changes were made, and so that we as trustees can have a proper comparison to see what was in place and what is now. Is it still in place, or is it changed, and why is it changed, or why is it kept the same?
And fair enough. And to do that, we want to make sure we're consistent with sunshine law. And that's why I had Everett seek OIP guidance as to what can be presented, as far as, such an item that you just suggested, for today's, presentation
Yeah,
by the administration.
yeah, thank you. I would be interested to know, within sunshine law, what our options are
Mhm.
as trustees, so that we get presented the cleanest and most readable version, so that we can make the proper decision and know how to go forward best.
Although we're not going to be making decisions today,
Right.
Yeah,
and
Yes.
especially because we don't have.
We need to have
we don't
something to
have a
compare to,
quorum.
to give
Yeah.
a,
Wait, turn your mic, wait.
Well, turn on your-
mic.
oh,
We,
Carol,
we need some time to review all these 300 pages. We went through a whole week of budget meetings, and there was no suggestion of a changing at that point. And then while we're in Molokai, we find out that there's another budget. And by the time we get home, I mean, we have so many things to do. I personally couldn't go through the new budget. Um, I cannot see how anybody can make an intelligent decision if they don't compare the two budgets. And I want to know too why some of the things are in. And I can't vote if I don't know. So that has to somehow come to our intelligence. Why is this and why is that?
Okay, so we're not voting today because.
I
we don't
know,
have quorum,
but we need the
right?
time
Right.
to consider all these things.
So given.
Monday is
what-
coming fast.
Given what trustee Akaka had just suggested, we still have to do it consistent with sunshine law requirements. And I had asked Everett, based on whatever is being presented today, to confer with the Office of Information Practices. And Everett, based on what trustee Akaka had just suggested, is that consistent with what you were advised from OIP?
Thank you, Board Counsel. I wasn't specifically discussing a red line type of document with OIP. I didn't consult with them for that purpose. I consulted with them on the presentation by administration on the differences between what was presented in the most recent version of the biennium budget and what was previously the budget that was by and large the subject of the earlier budget briefings. So I think that's the discussion. I mean, that's a lot of what will be shared today is the differences in those two versions of the budget and how that impacts administrations, at least our planned operations heading into
Yeah.
the new biennium.
And that's fair enough.
Yeah.
What I'm suggesting is there a red line version that the administration is providing or today that she just asked for, that is asking for?
The red line that you're talking about, Naivi, should have come from the folks that did the second version.
Okay.
This,
Yes.
the second
but-
version was not a board
Yes.
version.
And exactly to my earlier point, as to why, what is it that you're presenting that, the administration's position as to the budget is, that's my understanding of what your presentation was today. And it appears that you don't have a red line, comparison as trustee Akaka had just asked for. So I guess that point
We
for
didn't ask
today's
for a red line.
purposes is moot anyway, right?
We didn't ask for a red line. That's what trustee Akaka is asking for. Our OIP request was to get permission to make sure that we could provide the trustees with the differences that we have identified from the 6-3 budget to the 6-18 budget. And that's what we're doing today.
Go ahead, trustee Akaka.
Mahalo.
Trustee Akaka.
Looking at the timeframe we're working with June 30th coming upon us and then going into the next month of July, and where we're at with this budget and going forward, I also would like to know what the options are in terms of ensuring that certain kuleana are fulfilled, from staff being paid as well as contracts continuing to be fulfilled. So I would also like to know, between now and then, within Sunshine Law, what the option would be to ensure that if we do need more time to have a proper version, red line version, as well as additional having notes. And so we are allotted that time to make the proper decision, as this is a very big decision. But again, ensuring that staff are being paid and contracts being filled and whatever else kuleana needs to be fulfilled. Can we see what our options are? Is it something where it has to be an emergency action?
I mean, all those issues are certainly being considered, and Mr. Oda is currently looking into any potential issue like that. Should that become the case. So, but before we get there, we have today's presentation, and then we currently have a Monday BOT meeting on the 30th. And whatever concerns as you as a trustee may have, come the next meeting when there is quorum, certainly encourage you to raise it at the appropriate time.
So in the meantime, we're able to continue today. And I'd like for them to please go through this whole thing with no interruptions and go through this exactly as she's sharing right here. So we can complete this last portion and then we are done with today's meeting. And then we'll see how things go on Monday. So please continue.
Mahalo. So number 6, the issue that we have before us with the second version is that, again, we had a budgeted item that was deleted. So you will not find that in the second version. This was for promo items that were budgeted across the agency. These were items that were a priority for not just the administration, but for the BOT. And so there's no record of it in this second version. And we would like that restored. For number 7, the issue here, again, so this is for both fiscal year 26 and for 27. Number 8, the issue here is, again, there were a whole bunch of transportation issues. So that would be reflected in numbers 8, 9, 10, excuse me, 8 and 9. They were things that were deleted regarding travel or transportation, and lines 11 through 19, things were, there were funding items that were either reduced or increased. And then on Monday, there was passed out to the board the various errors that are reflected in the numbers that I just talked about. So that second version has already been noted to have errors that were had to be addressed. From my understanding, they may have been, but again, we have not had time to verify. And when we have errors such as this, it signals that there are process failures, and it undermines our financial accuracy and erodes trust and credibility.
What line is this you're referring to?
So I'm referring to line 8, where we have transportation in-state, which is deleted, no notation that these items were being deleted.
Okay.
The problem with when you have something being deleted from the version is that trustees will not know that it even existed. In government budget practice, you would just zero it out. You wouldn't delete the item. So the funding that we requested of 3,920, which we would like restored, was deleted totally. So there's no record of it in the second version. Best practice would have been you would just zero out the amount to say that you're not funding it.
I see.
And there are many, many instances of items that have been deleted.
Wow.
So even with a red line, you would not even see a red line for
Because we don't
something
know what
that's
to
been
compare it
deleted.
to.
Correct.
I understand. Okay, that helps me. That helps a lot. Okay, next.
And then I want to go to number 20 for non-OHA assets. So this is on the 618 budget line 198, page 198, lines 8716, 8715, 8718. All of these are additions of non-OHA CIP assets under our grants division. There were additions for Kaneo'olu'uma, Heiau, Uluwa'e Learning Center, and Kuananakoa Hall and Gym. And these additions create grave concern for the administration, as it has been put under our grants department to administer. And we believe, as supported in the previous audit report of 2018, in which this same practice was called out as one that OHA should not be conducting, because it does not provide for competitive and solicited grants, which we have for all of our other grants. And because this is being labeled as a grant in this budget, the non-competitive, non-solicited approach to this puts us in what we believe to be fiduciary risk, violating fiduciary duty of fairness, integrity, and stewardship. We also believe that it undermines equity and opportunity and does not have justification in terms of why these particular CIP projects were selected over others. We do have competitive grants for amounts as small as $5,000. And for us to be expected to administer grants of $3.5 million collectively become problematic.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
at this time, I'm going to call up our interim CFO. Ryan Lee to provide his impact statements. Mahalo, Chair.
Go ahead. Really, hold it for a sec. Go ahead, Naive.
Just to clarify and to trustee Lindsay's earlier comment as well. I totally believe that you as fiduciaries have to exercise prudence, which includes review and due diligence. That's certainly your responsibility. As to my point was more focused on whether or not a non-attorney providing legal advice to the board is appropriate, and that was my only point that I was trying to make. As far as what's to be presented, she should certainly present everything that they provided to the board if that's her desire and your as trustees desire to hear from her in doing your due diligence and exercising your prudence. That's not I'm not suggesting in any way that you shouldn't be exercising your prudence, because you should. I'm advising you that you should. My only point is any commentary about what your legal duties are coming from a non-lawyer, and that's my only point. Whatever she has to present in differences in between what they presented and what was presented, and you exercising your due diligence and exercising your prudence that's required of you in your fiduciary duties and standards, that's certainly something that you should look into. And I'm not suggesting in any way that you shouldn't, and I just want to make that clear. But as far as legal commentary, that should be left to the attorneys. That's my only point.
So, Chair,
Yes.
I just want to
Trustee
make it
Nancy.
clear where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Not having a red line showing the difference. I would like to hear from the CEO why she's objecting to some of these things. And I want to hear from our chair why he put it in too. I want to weigh the two facts. That's the only way we can do our due diligence, is to hear both sides, whoever made these budgets, And I have some personal concerns. I've been here 13 years,
Yeah.
and I know some things more than them,
Yep,
both
you
of
do.
them.
Yes,
So I would have some questions
Rightfully
for
so.
them, for some things that doesn't look right to me. So I had some questions on the first budget. I have questions on the second budget, but that's how I view my position
Got
as a
it.
trustee,
Got it.
and I don't hesitate, as you well know.
No.
So I just wanted to say that, and in all fairness to the trustees that have to make these decisions, we need to know everything.
Thank you.
What's behind the putting in of the numbers?
Yep.
Like the Kawananakua Gym. I asked why Hawaiian Homes was not involved in that money. I want to know why. That's on Hawaiian Homes lands. But I didn't get my answers. So I'm just using that as an example. Thank you.
Right, so let's continue on, and go ahead, Ryan, you have the table.
And trustee Lindsay, you certainly should request that type of information and exercising your due diligence. Yes.
Trustees. I'm here today on behalf of the CFO, Paya, right? So Mona was unable to join, but left me with prepared remarks that I would share with the board. Is it okay to go over what changes that she went over? She did not highlight the actual line items, but in general, it's primarily focusing on travel and person items.
As the acting CFO of this organization and information upon which the trustees are relying on, ultimately, you should provide whatever fiscal expertise you believe that is required for the trustees to be considering.
Sure, okay. So in terms of travel for the PAIA, I think the issue that was raised was that the travel budget to attend the Government Finance Officers Association Conference was removed from fiscal year 26. Now, the impact of that is that, as you know, this conference is a top priority for governmental accounting professionals, especially for their development every year.
Right.
We're bringing on brand new in-house staff, so it's essential for them to attend. So there are actually 4 accounting pronouncements that went into effect July 1st, 2025. So these are very important for them to be kept post of, especially in their positions. So that's one that was highlighted, more the travel for conference professional development. There are other travel items that she highlighted, but that was corrected in terms of clerical adjustments that have been corrected. The second item is the personnel for the PAIA. I think it was noted that the salary for the budget chief increased by 49% from the previous fiscal 25 budget proposal. 49% is what was listed. So the position will be earning more than the assistant controller, who requires a certified public accountant designation with 4 years of progressively responsible professional accounting or audit experience. Working with professional accounting, finance, auditing, work assignments. Now, the budget notes that was stated that she highlighted, title changes, updates for incumbent financial and reporting hours reflects the internal standardization efforts. So basically, no change in fiscal year 26 full-time FTE or funding level. So reclassification aligns with organizational structure and strategic priorities. So those were the notes. The impact that she highlighted was that it does not align with requirements and expectations of the positions in the accounting department. The assistant controller will be supervising 5 staff, and she would like to review the basis of all the accounting staff in the biennial budget for relevance.
But can you repeat that again? The assistant controller oversees
5
5
staff,
staff, gotcha.
correct. The second item she referred to was there's a new position that was added, a financial reporting analyst who will report to the budget chief in fiscal year 27. She highlighted the impact is unknown, but in terms of trying to understand what the requirements are for the position, is this an accounting degree requirement for this position? As there's a budget module that she highlighted, PR, which has been created for fiscal 25, which would streamline the budget process tremendously and ensure accuracy in the budget module. And I guess that being said, she highlighted that we budget biennial, and asking what is the justification for the position, right? So those are just comments.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to summarize with that last piece. So the budget chief that's being proposed, there's going to be software and app systems modernization, as well as budgeting happens for us biennially, so it happens every 2 years. So basically, the addition of a budget chief, we believe, is unwarranted, based off of all of the improvements that we're going to make with modernization and just the amount of time that we actually spend doing this level of budgeting. Mahalo.
Just one more point that you wanted to highlight was sort of the issue with the fiscal 26 and 27 personnel budget, which does not include COLA merit. And there are placeholders of $1 for OT, but OT is budgeted at most of the programs. So what was highlighted was that there will be a deficit in the personnel budget at the end of fiscal 26. And if COLA or merit is paid in 27, it would have to be accrued back to fiscal year 26 because that is the year COLA or merit was earned. So this is accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, so more of a accounting gap rule that needs to be applied, right? So she's highlighting that, just to be aware of. That was her prepared remarks. There were others, but I think, those are the main issues.
All right, thank you very much, Ryan.
So at
Is
this
there
point,
anything else that you would like to add? Based on the original budget or, okay, all right, thank you so much.
so at this time,
who's
I'd like to
next?
call up Kehal Pu'u, our COO.
Aloha e ke po'o ke komike
Aloha.
budget and finance na kahuwaiwai I hele mai nei I ke ala a me na limahana ko mahuahana. Ma mua ko'u olelo ana make mua wau e mihi. Mihi mua I ke akua me ku'u mau kupuna and ya okua pakahia pau. I just want to mihi for my Lavena, both on Monday and even today.
Thank you.
Lots of frustration, and so I think my wahine au hina is coming out more than my kulana as COO. So I do ask that will you please forgive me?
Sure.
Mahalo. So mahalo for this opportunity to I'm not quite sure how I'm supposed to frame it so that I'm not interrupted, but thank you for this opportunity to express some of my concerns regarding the content of this budget and the differences from our June 2nd version that was provided. I have a bunch, I think I gave you folks a copy of what I'm going to share today. I have about 8 to 9 things that I want to share, but I have provided an attachment to my mana'o that gives some line by line concerns and
You have an extra one?
recommended amendments.
Did you get one?
Uh,
Is it this one?
I think we gave it to Pohai.
This one.
I have 2 loa. Feel a little bit heavy.
Hey, sorry, got it.
Okay, right on.
All right.
And mahalo for providing this opportunity since we weren't able to do so on Monday. But real quick, I do want to just share some mana'o about the budget process post June 2nd.
Mhm.
So I appreciate the efforts to bring rigor to OHA's budget process by holding budget hearings that included the briefings, opportunity for staff to provide responses to questions from the board right here at the table, during and post hearings. But it is deeply concerning that following the administration's June 2nd updated budget proposal, there hasn't been no collaboration or consultation with administrative leaders on the June 18th proposed budget that was submitted at that date. No questions or requests for information were directed to myself or the chief executive officer, despite known communication to at least 2 staff members. This lack of dialogue deviates from models of good governance that encourage timely coordination and feedback between board and administration. In my limited experience, particularly at the City and County of Honolulu with the Honolulu City Council, there is a structured window for administration to respond to board amendments through multiple budget hearings that happen over a period of time. Given the timing and changes during this budget season, that opportunity does not exist in this case, and therefore limits administration from providing feedback and recommendations to the current standing budget proposal. In
Hold
future,
on.
and
I'm so sorry, completely, just so sorry.
Excuse me, and I
There's a
don't mean to interrupt
situation came
anyone.
up.
I want to make sure that whatever, and I'm conferring with Everett, that the public has access to what's being presented right now, as far as other evidence. Yes. So what he is,
checking on my concerns
checking on
about the
doing right now,
process.
what
that-
he's
what I'm
checking on
sharing.
doing right now is making sure whatever is being referenced right now that was just handed out to the board is going to be put on the screen for the public to have access to. That's what we're concerned with right now.
So we're gonna upload this?
I do.
Okay.
And that's consistent with what Everett, checking with OIP had advised. is what he
But I would
informed me.
have shared on Monday had we not been denied the opportunity to speak on that day.
Who's he sending it to? Who's he sending it?
You know, I mean, there was reasons why we
Wait.
took the steps that we took. Ms. COO, we're trying to make sure that the public has adequate access to what you're referring to, and that's all we're concerned with at this moment.
Go ahead, Khalid.
Mahalo. So I think with what is being requested of Kehal, the information so it's made properly available to the public, if the upcoming PAYA, the departments have any material that also need to be put on the screen, that they should send that over so that
Summer.
to the budget and
just sent
finance committee staff, so that is made available to them so they can put it on the screen.
We want to make sure the public has access to what is being presented, and that's the issue at hand right now.
Okay. I just forwarded it to Summer.
OHA meetings at OHA.org.
Oh, what? Send it to that?
Yeah, that's who you sent it to.
Okay, let me forward again.
Gosh.
OHA meeting at OHA.org.
Correct.
Okay. With the S?
With the S? No S.
No S, yeah, okay, because that's what I have in my email. Thank you.
No problem. Can you check? There it is. It's up on the screen.
Sorry for the interruption, and it's now on the screen.
And if there's anybody else that has something similar, and then we can do the same, if you could kindly upload that. All right, continue, please.
Okay, hold my one of vote.
Mhm.
In the future, I just propose that OHA's biennium budget development process include multiple hearings so that there are ample opportunities for administration to respond to amendments made by the board prior to the budget being adopted. For the present, I humbly request that the board consider proposed amendments posed by myself and other OHA staff and administrators for incorporation into the adopted budget. I don't expect that all recommendations would be accepted, but I ask that they be reviewed, evaluated, and that a determination of accept or reject be made. And then my second just overall concern is just, again, lack of transparency in the budget versions. The current June 18 budget document does not include prior budget versions or track changes, making it impossible for decision makers and beneficiaries to see what has been removed. This lack of comparative context obscures the full and inclusive requests of the entire Office of the Hawaiian Affairs, and it hinders trustees in our communities from understanding which programs, projects, or initiatives were cut from the June 2nd budget version. Again, based on my limited experience in government, it is common practice to retain prior budget items and note/track any changes made. I flag this as a concern for this budget round and strongly recommend the practice of keeping former budget versions or tracking changes similar to what was done on the June 2nd version of the budget that was proposed to be done moving forward. So now I'll just go into some specific specific mana'o about the
Sure.
current budget. And this isn't comprehensive because I know my colleagues will speak to the budgets that are relative to their PAYA. So first is just some of the position realignments and changes that have been made. So there are a handful of changes to the proposed staffing structures in the June 18 budget that were not discussed but will have impacts on divisions. An example of these changes includes the addition of 2 beneficiary services agent positions in Hilo in the community engagement division. These additions have resulted in what appears to be the elimination of administration's requests for an additional BSA on Oahu, where there is an overwhelming need for support given the volume of beneficiaries serviced and events OHA engages in on this island. In addition, in the June 18 org chart, it appears as if one of the BSA Hilo positions is an existing one. However, this is inaccurate. The former West Hawaii BSA position was reassigned to Oahu. This is the position currently listed as having an interim. Therefore, both proposed Hilo positions are new for fiscal year 26. Another example of a change that was made without consultation is the deferral of an existing vacant public policy advocate position to fiscal year 27. A hiring recommendation and offer for this deferred position is already in process. So this deferral impacts our ability to bring on a new hire and disregard staff hard work and recruitment in getting these positions filled. Consultation on this and the above matter would have provided an opportunity to give accurate and current information about these positions to better inform the proposed changes. And these are just a couple of the concerns I have. My attachment contains others for other PAYA under the COO, as well as some of my partner PAYA for consideration. Next is the inappropriate reassignment of strategy and innovation under the Chief Operating Officer. While I understand the intent to align strategy and implementation under the COO for operational execution, I must express strong disagreement with this move. The COO already oversees numerous divisions and kuleana for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Adding the responsibility of strategic plan execution to an already overwhelming scope of work would be burdensome for this position. I believe that a strong understanding of the COO's kuleana to align resources and implement activities that support execution of the strategic plan through identified tactics, along with practicing high levels of collaboration, communication, and coordination, are what is needed of the COO to successfully support SNI's work. Ua lava ke kuleana o ka pou nui, ua nui ke kuleana, e olu mai ho'onui e I kanahana. Additionally, given that the CEO is ultimately being held accountable for realizing the Mana'i Mauliola strategic outcomes, direct oversight of the SNI Senior Director should remain with the CEO, who can directly lead and guide SNI's work. This is consistent with organizational models at Kamehameha Schools and Lili'uokalani Trust, where strategy is a direct report to the Chief Executive. As the current COO and an advocate for the incoming COO, I strongly recommend SNI remain under the CEO. My next, I guess, issue to raise are salary adjustments. And I know this organization and many Limahana are so very grateful for the adjustments that are being made. However, there are some adjustments that are unintentionally impacting morale in a negative way and deepening inequities across the organization. And I'll just call it a few concerns. So there are 2 manager level salaries that exceed the salaries of almost every director here at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. There are salaries for vacant positions that exceed those of existing staff in those same positions. There is no COLA or merit increases for employees who have worked here at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs for over a year and will not be receiving salary adjustments. I'm going to call out that the CFO and investment director salaries exceed that of the CEO. Additionally, the CEO does not have proviso language in fiscal year 27 for merit, yet all the other C-suite positions here at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs do. Finally, I'm going to call out that the COO salary is only $7,000 above the Chief of Staff, despite the broader scope of kuleana and number of direct reports. I'm almost done.
Okay, thank you.
My next issue is the elevated allocations for branding versus program impact. So rebuilding trust and credibility in community is a priority that's been called out over and over again during this budget process. While enhancing OHA's visibility is important, the following allocations appear excessive when weighed against strategic initiatives designed to achieve MIMO outcomes that have been eliminated in this budget version. Branding allocations include $200,000 for marketing research, $500,000 for execution of a communications plan that is informed by that marketing research. That's in fiscal year 27.
27.
$100,000 for marketing of new programs, and an additional $260,000 for multimedia campaigns. And then there are annual allotments of over $250, $50,000 for community broadcasting. So these are meaningful and needed efforts for OHA. No doubt, we need to, again, rebuild and build a strong image for this organization. However, some of these efforts do come at the expense of vital MIMO-aligned programs such as the Native Hawaiian Specialty Court, Pu'uhonua Program, and the Kulia Workforce Initiative. And these are just a few of the proposed initiatives that are closer to the mission of serving our people and achieving OHA strategic outcomes. I recommend making reductions to the budget items above in order to restore funding for SNI initiatives. You can see my attachment for recommended reductions. Next is charter school funding.
You know,
Here,
she-
I'm almost done.
Thank you so
Hold on,
much.
You were interrupted by the CEO just then. I was asked and I was conferring with the chair on a matter, and
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, continue.
that's up to the chair, Ms. CEO, as to what she wants or not wants from conferring with counsel during these proceedings. And we were conferring on a matter that she wanted to ask me about.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Next is charter school funding inequities. So while we love the intent to increase funding to Hawaiian-focused charter schools, all 17, the lack of utilizing a per pupil formula has led to inequitable distributions for 4 of our largest Hawaiian-focused charter schools, specifically Kawaihona o Kana'awau, which is in my Kaiaulu, Kekula o Navahi o Kalani o Pu'u, Kamaile Academy in Kanuoka'aina. These kula are now facing significant cuts given the current budget proposal and manner of funds distribution. I recommend working with our grants manager and reconsidering amounts budgeted to ensure equitably distributed funds. In addition, the current proposed budget removes Kalo as the fiscal sponsor in order to distribute maximum amount of funds to the Hawaiian-focused charter schools. While this seems ideal, I have learned that there is history regarding the reason a fiscal sponsor is used. I've been informed by grant staff that the removal of Kalo increases administrative burden on Kumu, principals, and our own OHA staff. And an attempt to do this very action in the past was unsuccessful and led to the restoration of a fiscal sponsor. Grant staff have or will provide additional testimony regarding this matter. I recommend reconsideration of this change based on information provided by the grants team. And then I just have Elua Meaho Alela Pau. My next is the elimination of our open community grant program. So in our June 2nd version, $2.4 million was allocated annually for our community grants program. And this was already a significant reduction from what was budgeted in the past. But it's now been completely removed from our June 18 budget. The removal of this budget line item effectively excludes a wide range of community organizations, like those that we heard from in Molokai just last week, who are doing MIMO-aligned work from gaining support from OHA. Additionally, the June 18 budget directly funds several projects that benefit a handful of specific communities, unlike the grants program, which supports grantees across the Pai'aina who have undergone a grant application process. More information regarding how recipients were selected and how OHA plans to comply with HRS 1017 should be provided. In addition, I urge the board to consider removing community CIP projects from OHA's operating budget as recommended by administration and including them as a separate action item that utilizes previous fiscal year carryover funds. This recommendation would likely give OHA the ability to restore some funding to reopen community grants and to restore SNI initiatives that have been eliminated. My last concern is just travel. When we na hema hema, there's many discrepancies in the allocations. There's, I think, no inter-island airfare in any of my paya. So I believe these are just technical area errors that need to be cleaned up. So in closing, again, I hope that this board can consider some of the recommendations being made, again, by myself and my colleagues. And especially, consider the impact. I feel that there's a huge impact to strategy and innovation in this June 18 budget. And that is particularly worrisome. MIMO is a profound responsibility, and we must design and resource programs that uplift and heal our lahui. Mahalo for your time and what I hope will be meaningful consideration of my mana'o and recommendations. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'd be more than happy to discuss them. I'm more than willing to work hard and engage in any efforts to address concerns or ho'oponopono. And know that I remain committed to advancing a budget that aligns with our mission, honors process, and really puts our lahui at the center of everything we do. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo, Kehao, I really appreciate that. And Kalamaya, our voices were loud, but also I would like to make sure that we maintain some sense of decorum as I'll have that final say in things, okay? Moving on to our next presenter. Please bring up our next presenter.
I'd like to call up our Senior Director of Strategy and Implementation, Elena Farden.
Mahalo, Chair, Vice Chair, and Trustees. Elena Farden, Senior Director of Strategy and Implementation. I rise in opposition in the removal and elimination of the proposed budget in key and critical areas for our Mana'i Mauliola strategic plan. Specifically, they would be in our economic programs. So within the proposed budget, it was drastically slashed by over 80% from 1.33 million to 291,000. To put that into perspective, if we just take the present board that's here, slashing it by 80%, that would just leave the chair that would be present here. That's a fiduciary loss for economic programs of over 1 million in our internal and additional leverage investments and partners at risk of being stalled. Second would be our health programs. So our health and OEV well-being portfolio was grossly reduced by 97% from a budget request of $1,015,000 to just $35,000, enough to buy a used car. Going back to the example of the current present board, if we were to reduce the board that's present by 97%, that would just leave you, Chair, but just the top half of your body. So these programs impact our Pu'uhonua Restorative Justice, our Specialty Court, and our Native Hawaiian Healthcare Practitioner Pathways. That's a fiduciary loss of over 6.76 million. Second is our education programs. This has been reduced by 22% from its original program level, shifting away from culture-based curriculum development and educator capacity building. So the fiduciary loss here is over 900,000. The second stats that I do want to go back to is going back to our health and OEV well-being portfolio. Just looking at the specialty court that was eliminated, you're looking at a loss of 6.65 million. The net present value of what we invest today for the specialty court would yield 6.65 million in 5 years. To give you an example of what 6.65 million would afford OHA, just put it into tangible forms. So let's talk about affordable homes. It would provide 12 homes for Native Hawaiian families. It would provide 18,500 per participant for restorative justice. It would look like, let's say, community gym renovations at 1.5 million. We could renovate 4 gyms. If we look at rental assistance for Maui, 6,000 per household, it would be 1,108 homes for Native Hawaiian families. Let's talk about transportation, since one of our directors encountered a snafu on Molokai and not being able to get home. Let's say we bought Inner Island Sea Glider. We could buy 2 of them at 3.3 million. That would transportation access across the Pai'aina. So that investment reduced and taken away impacts our larger impact as the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. My ask of the Board of Trustees is to relook at and restore the original budget ask for Mana'i Mauliola, and also to work together to help find a balance in making sure that other programs that are just as worthy, including JAPSOM, are also balanced in that effort. Mahalo.
Mahalo, thank you. Excuse me. May we have our next, oh,
Before I leave, just one more impact on the reorganization of SNI. I do have it in my impact statement that has been provided to your trustee aides, and it is there. Additionally, the strategic vision of the way SNI moves is based on projects versus functionality. The way OHA is organized is by function, budget, finance, IT, communications operate by function. Strategy and implementation operate by projects, meaning we have to work across different PAYA and different organizations, internal and externally. To move us within the COO would hinder that flow of how we move and how we execute our programs. So I also ask the Board of Trustees to reconsider and also work with us in talking with us in that open dialogue on how we're reorganized. Thank you.
mahalo, Elena. And our next presenter.
Chair, if I may, I just wanted to add on to the reorganization of SNI. So when I was brought on to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, one of the major priorities of the board at the time was to execute on the strategic plan, which at that point in time was over 3 years behind. And so with the urgency and with the priority that was provided to me by the board, the division of strategy and implementation was actually basically a reorganization of an existing strategy and management team. So that there was a structure, but it wasn't a structure that was functional. And so with the refashioning of strategy to implementation, reporting directly to the CEO allows me to have the direct focus and priority and urgency put upon this division. The same way that the other PAYA that report directly to me. So just recently, the land division and HR were moved under me directly. And that was because it was stated to me that it needs to have that level of oversight, urgency, and priority. And those were the same exact reasons that strategy and implementation were put under me when the board hired me on. Mahalo.
Thank you for clarifying that. Our CEO, can we have our next presenter?
So the next presenter is going to be Hailama Fardin, our Senior Director of Hawaiian Cultural Affairs.
Aloha, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, aloha na kahuai vai e mika ohana nei. Before I begin my sharing of manao, I did want to ask that and beg that not consider my boldness, fervor, excitement perhaps as disrespect and a lack of appreciation. So I just want to share that a lot of us are probably bleeding our emotions, and I think rightfully so.
And completely understand.
And also, I wanted to say that you might see that I'm not going to only be addressing things in my PAYA, because my role as your Senior Director of Hawaiian Cultural Affairs is a role that is a continuum of imbuing, like our culture imbues through the entire organization. So you'll hear some comments about other
Sure.
PAYA. Aloha,
Could you
Chair.
hold on, Halama, excuse me.
Aye.
We have to make sure that whatever
Thank you.
you're passing on to the board is
Uploaded.
made
Thank you.
available to the public.
Ikino.
Hang on for a sec.
I sent to.
Did you
Ohio.
send it?
Yeah. Ohio.
Oh, hi, you have it.
Can you send it to our meeting link at oha.org?
Would we like our next presenter to go, and I can make sure that happens? Just
No. It's pretty quick once you send it, and it goes right up to the TV screen behind you. And everyone else be able to see it.
word to.
Oh, and if anyone else has something to load, please send it to ohameeting@oha.org. ohameeting@oha.org. please send your specific presentation material to that site. And that way, when you come, it's already ready to go. And then we don't have to have continuous interruptions.
So, Madam Chair, I just sent it to, got it.
All right,
Can-
she
may I-
just said it came through, and we're looking for it to go up on the screen. Okay,
Okey-doke.
there we have it.
Mahalo for the opportunity to provide testimony on the trustee budget amendments introduced last week. I offer this in my capacity as Senior Director of Hawaiian Cultural Affairs and also as a lifelong educator and cultural practitioner grounded in Ike and Nohona, Hawaii. My perspective is shaped by decades of service to the Lahui and a steadfast commitment to the value of pono, which I define as balance across priorities, structures, and relationships. The statement is rooted not only in the professional kuleana, but in cultural obligation. When decisions of this magnitude are made without engagement, without sufficient process, and without explanation, we are called to speak not only from our position, but from our manao, our ike, and our pilina to the people we serve. The revised trustee budget was presented to the executive leadership team with no prior notice, no meaningful engagement. While written questions were sent after our presentations, there were no sit-down discussion, no collaborative dialogue, and no opportunity to address the deeper concerns these amendments raise. These changes were developed not in the spirit of kuka, so well practiced by our kupuna and still modeled in our communities today, but in a manner that diminished trust and eroded morale. As someone who has served Native Hawaiian communities for over 35 years, I have seen firsthand that best practice, whether in classrooms, boardrooms, or community spaces, requires engagement with those closest to the work, not as a courtesy, but as a necessity and as a Hawaiian core expectation. It is a fiduciary responsibility of the board to engage in due diligence when significant decisions are made, as I assume was done, and that the budget and amendments reflect collective action of all trustees, because clarity and transparency are essential. One of the most significant impacts to the work of my division is the removal of the Director of Hawaiian Ethos position. This hire was already in process and foundational to the implementation of Strategy 4.1 of the Manai Mauliole Strategic Plan. More than an administrative post, this position was created to infuse Ike Hawaii and Onai Hana Hawaii into structure of OHA operations, internal development, and external engagement. The Director of Hawaiian Ethos is not a symbolic role. It is a system-level investment in cultural integrity, internal alignment, and long-term vision. Its removal not only weakens my division's ability to meet the agency's cultural charge, it disrespects the framework I was hired to help build. I was brought in under the understanding that 3 leadership level roles would exist to lift this work. This position was a cornerstone of that vision. Equally troubling is the diminishment of the Hawaiian Cultural Operations Consultant role, a position originally scoped at a project management level, to a significantly lower tier post titled Hawaiian Cultural Affairs Assistant. This is more than a change in title. It is a reduction in responsibility, authority, and strategic impact. The original role was designed to help execute internal and external cultural initiatives across departments, support cultural protocol, and engage with community experts. This assistant level classification simply cannot carry the scope and kuleana of this work requires. The combined loss of one key position and downgrading of another compromises the ability to fill Strategy 4.1 and serve our lahui effectively. Equally alarming is the decision to reorganize Strategies and Implementations Division, moving it under the oversight of the COO. In my professional judgment, supported by decades of organizational research and lived experiences, Strategies Division should report directly to the CEO or in some models to the board chair. To place a strategy-focused division under a role already burdened with operational responsibility diminishes its functions and stifles innovation. It is important to note that prior to the establishment of S&I, The first 4 years of strategic plan saw little traction. With the hiring of the Senior Director of Strategies and Implementation, visible progress followed, complete with implementation tools, cross-division alignment, and measurable frameworks. This reorganization threatens to derail that momentum and sends an unfortunate message about the agency's commitment to sustain strategic transformation. Another serious concern is the defunding of the Restorative Justice Specialty Court, an initiative deeply rooted in healing, Hawaiian values, and systemic equity. This pilot effort was not just a program, it was a statement that OHA sees and responds to the disproportionate harm. It's not coming out of my mouth. Disproportionate harm experienced by Native Hawaiians in the justice system. While other initiatives serving far fewer than 1,000 beneficiaries remain funded, this program, one that could positively impact over 200,000 people, all of our people, has been removed. That's not pono. Restorative justice, and pono, my definition again, balanced. Restorative justice cannot succeed without cultural, emotional, spiritual, structural support. I strongly urge its reinstatement. Finally, I must note that certain imperative travel line items were also deleted. Among them was OHA's proposed participation in the World Indigenous Peoples Conference on Education, WIPSI 2025, scheduled for November 16 to 20th. WIPSI is not merely another conference. It's the preeminent global convening of Indigenous educators, cultural leaders. Several subject matter experts at OHA have already initiated dialogue with international peers preparing for this event. While we cannot attend or sponsor everything, our absence at WIPSI, intended or not, sends a message. So too does our presence. There are moments and spaces where OHA's representation is not just meaningful, it's essential. I respectfully ask that this decision be reconsidered. My closing thoughts. I share this testimony not in opposition for its own sake, but in hope that we might return to balance. Pono is not a slogan, it is a principle. It means we consult before we cut. We think beyond titles. We lead not only in authority, but with cultural responsibility. I respectfully urge the committee and then the board to reinstate the Director of Hawaiian Ethos position, restore Hawaiian Cultural Operations Consultant role in its original classification, reconsider the reorganization of strategies and implementation, recommit to Restorative Justice Specialty Court initiative, and reinstate travel support for key Indigenous convenings, especially WIPSI 2025. Let us lead with pono, not just language, but leadership. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo Halama. And go ahead, Stacy, proceed.
We'll have Corp Counsel, Everett Ota.
Good afternoon, trustees. Our corp council revisions are relatively minor compared to the rest of the administration presented thus far. It's really limited to the organizational structure that's contained in the proposed biennium budget and its relation to the Associate General Counsel, which had previously been proposed as overseeing two legal counsel positions, as well as the current Policy and Records Management Officer. That would allow for more strategic level work and thinking by the General Counsel's position, and have the the Associate General Counsel responsible for more of the operational needs of the organization. However, that proposed structure was not reflected in the FY26 and FY27 budget. While this would normally be a operational matter because of its inclusion in the biennium budget approval, that is why I'm bringing it to the board's attention for consideration. Thank you.
Mahalo, Everett.
And then if I could get our Endowment Director, Ryan Lee, for investment.
Aloha. I'll be covering the investment office budget changes. Um, the proposed budget changes reflect three areas. One, deferral of the additional analyst position to fiscal year 27. To offset that, there was an increase in consulting services for investment operations to offset that deferral. And three, there was additional funding for bonding authority preparation. Now, in terms of the analyst position deferral, deferring the analyst position will delay building out the investment team by at least 1 year, while adding consulting services will support us in the short term. And outside consultants cannot fully replace dedicated internal staff. Currently the investment team runs very lean, as you're aware of. And any additional analysts would really strengthen the daily management of the portfolio, improve oversight of external managers and consultants, enhance reporting, risk tracking, transparency, but most importantly, build institutional knowledge that remains with OHA over the time instead of relying too much on outside firms. Pushing this back another year would definitely increase workload of the investment director, myself, diverting time from big picture and planning long-term strategy. At the same time, it slows the development of the internal knowledge and capacity needed to steward the trust for future generations. Again, it delay improvements in reporting, transparency, and portfolio management, but then also keep us more dependent on outside consultants, which is less sustainable over the long term. The second item is the bonding authority expense, which is an addition, and this is to cover bond counsel and credit agency services to help prepare OHA for the possible of issuing revenue bonds, for example. What I would point out is that to keep reporting clearly and very accurately, once we understand how the bond proceeds will be used, such as if it's for investment lands or program lands, I would recommend these costs be allocated appropriately to these projects. The reason being is that if we don't, it may understate the performance of the Native Hawaiian Trust Fund, as well as lead to program reporting inaccuracies. Mahalo. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Chair,
Proceed.
I just wanted to follow up on the investment analyst. So the investment analyst is paid through non-core funds. And so the deferment of fiscal year 26 makes really no sense because it has zero effect on the budget. And so we're not, and again, it's not very clear on why the deferment occurred when there is zero fiscal impact. So we would appreciate if it would be restored to fiscal year 26.
Mahalo. Do you have any more presenters?
Yes, so we have various staff. So we've just went through all of our executive leadership team members. I'm just going to have them come up one at a time.
Aloha board.
Aloha.
Thank you for having us today and giving us the opportunity to provide feedback on the budget before you. My name is Lisa Vaughn Sakona. I'm the Director of Community Engagement.
Aloha trustees, I'm Chantel Balai, your grants manager.
Column, I'm just waiting for our handout to be put up.
Yeah.
Hello. I wanted to just provide some clarity regarding the charter school funding. The chart that was provided for you demonstrates our original 2-year distribution of the per pupil funding of 3 million, which is done on a sliding scale based on each school's enrollment. That 3 million also included 80,000 for the Kui Colonial Conference, which was approximately 40,000 a year provided. And this is a conference where the schools all gather with the po'o and with other educators, and the children spend a whole year doing research projects based on the theme, and then this is their ho'ike, and where they get to really meet the other schools and start to network and really make lifelong educational impacts with each other. And then we also provide an admin fee to Kalo. So what Kalo does for us is they work with all 17 or with the 16 schools, and then Kanoko'aina has a separate contract. But what they do is they work to distribute the funds to all schools, and they provide reporting to us. So we get our data through Kalo. They do all the work. They coordinate all the po'o meetings. They do the site visits. When COVID hit, they pivoted very quickly and helped the schools pivot as well during COVID. They maintained their reporting, met all of our deadlines, and then when we reopened once again, they pivoted and were able to continue their site visits and meetings. The second stream of the facilities fundings, each school, you can see here, each school gets the same amount. So everyone gets that 150. And what Kalo does is this is monthly reporting. So the per pupil is semi-annually, but the facilities is every single month. So every single month, all schools send their receipts to Kalo. They itemize it for us, they do the reporting, they send it to us, and they help us track the funding. And some schools can spend the 150 very quickly within a few months. Other schools do need the whole 12 months. And so this is monthly. And so you can see that reflected in the admin fee that they do for us. You can imagine the amount of receipts they collect each month and provide for us. So the proposal in the new June 18th budget provided for 176,500 per school per fiscal year. So altogether 353,000. While we appreciate maintaining the 6 million, what this does is cut out the funding for the conference. And I should mention each year it travels to a different island, so different schools get to host it. So this would eliminate funding for that conference. What this also does is you can see that many schools would see a drastic increase in the amount they get. But if you look at the enrollment figures, it becomes more about equity versus equality. And so this is why we kept the two funding streams separate, so that one would be based on a sliding scale on enrollment, and the other was each school gets the same amount for their facilities. Having the grants program add 17 additional contracts would be a huge undertaking, because the way it's stated in the budget of the funds are able to be used either programmatically or facilities, we'd have to create 17 unique budgets for each school. So those are conversations with po'os over, of the 176.5, how much would go for facilities, and their understanding of having to then provide directly to OHA all of those receipts on a monthly basis versus the difference in funding they would allocate for their per pupil. And then again, 17 individual PMTs for them to complete. So we mahalo as well, Kalo, for their work in all this. As previously stated, there was a time when OHA did do this ourselves. It was difficult. 1 year, yes. It was difficult, and then it was put out for bid through the solicitation process, and Kalo was the recommended administrator or grantee for this. So we mahalo them for their work over these years as well. Right, so you can see the change in funding in red. Dr. Krug, the po'o from Kawahona Okana'awa, was here on Monday, and so he specifically talked about his program Their total enrollment is 693 students, and so you could see they would come in with 100,200 less in funding for us, as well as Kekula o Navahio Kalani Pu'u Iki Labs Public Charter School, Kamaile Academy would come in at less, and Kaneokaina New Century Public Charter School would come in at less. So we just wanted to make this information available for the board.
We'd also like to thank Kapohara and Kaponui for their earlier statements. It covered much of our concerns that we had raised regarding the competitive grant-making process and affording the grants team that opportunity. We wanted to share also, in light of government's efforts to cut back on funding to our DEI programs, we've seen significant impact to our communities and our community organizations here in Hawaii. And we received, specifically since January, a lot of calls from our community partners who are suffering and looking for some form of relief. Removing the competitive grant making process is a direct impact on those programs that are out in our community doing the good work. We also wanted to add that the BSA positions, that the reallocation that was spoken about before, just really to emphasize the need of support on Oahu, specifically because we have so many events happening as well, that with the Ho'akoakoa, in order to be able to help and support those events and support our BSA team's ability to have eyes and ears in our community and at these community events. We have a very interesting relationship with the grants program in that BSA serve as those eyes and ears in community at these events to support the grants team as far as being able to articulate as far as reporting is going and what we're seeing. Are these events being held? Is it serving our Hawaiian community? There's a really important synergy there. And with regards to this current budget before you, our grants team is being removed out of community engagement and being paired with S&I with the addition of a loan officer position, which we have questions regarding what was the recommendation for that removal. As mentioned, BSA grants, we do work closely together. And then also the appropriateness of having a loan officer with our grants program was another question that we wanted to bring to your attention. Also, as Kapohana mentioned, the large grant making that is in this proposed budget is also very concerning with regards to our capacity as a grants team and our ability that was removed from this current budget to provide competitive grants to our community. A large fund went to specific organizations that, as was brought up in Monday's meeting, there was no competition. It's on the paper and that's it. So that really closed the door to other programs that we could be talking about. Thank you.
Mahalo. You have any more?
Well, I'm so sorry. May I?
Yes,
Sorry,
please go
sorry.
ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to echo regarding the reorganization of placing grants in S&I. I think our plan all along was to collaborate with them in building the solicitations, but during the grant process, we really want to be seen as independent. And so I think I feel to keep our decision-making independent and transparent, it's best if we are housed in community engagement. We have that special relationship with our BSAs. The work we do with S&I will be a small portion of what grants does. We have our charter schools. We hope to have the 2.4 million restored so we can do the open solicitations as well. And so I feel strongly, my team also feels very strongly that the best home for grants would be in community engagement.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, plan on it. Yeah. Okay. What's that?
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, and Trustees. My name is Pony Askew. I'm the Director of Economic and Business Resilience at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Mahalo for the opportunity to offer this testimony. I stand before you not just to advocate for a budget line, but to affirm our collective kuleana, to deliver on the vision this board adopted and the constitutional mandate that guides our work. MIMO is that vision. It is not a concept, it's our directive. It's our statutory requirement established under HRS 10-6, which mandates that the Office of Hawaiian Affairs not only adopt, but implement a strategic plan to better the conditions of Native Hawaiians. Our Econ Division budget request of $1.33 million over FY 26 and 27 was aligned precisely to MIMO's directional outcome, economic stability, and strategic outcomes 7 and 8, supporting food system resilience, regional rural tourism, economic mobility, and community-based career pipelines. This was a focused strategic request not to ideate, but to activate. These are newly developed programs now ready for implementation. The proposed reduction of over 80% drops that request down to $291,000 for 2 years to effectuate MIMO. That cut eliminates our delivery capacity and directly halts over 50 scholarships for Native Hawaiian students in agriculture and culinary fields, 2 full incubator cohorts serving 24 Native Hawaiian entrepreneurs, paid internships in clean energy, ag tech, and cloud-based careers, business technical assistance for food producers and Aina-based enterprises, rural tourism pilot grounded in cultural and economic sovereignty. These ideas aren't on a whiteboard. They were co-designed through months of community engagement, research, and partnership building. They represent the kind of systems-aligned delivery that HRS Chapter 10 and MIMO call for, and that our beneficiaries deserve. When these programs don't move forward, beneficiaries feel the impact in lost scholarships, missed internships, and delayed access to economic opportunity they were promised. At the same time, this board has added nearly $10 million in new trustee-directed appropriations, projects not presented during the public comment period and not tied to MIMO implementation. More critically, they were not developed through the same strategic vetting, public input, or outcome tracking that MIMO-aligned programs underwent, creating risk of inequitable funding without measurable return. These decisions, while potentially valuable, displace strategic implementation, bypass public process, and reprioritize resources away from the programs that were designed to deliver systemic change. We've already made significant investments over the last 6 months. Our team committed institutional time, staffing capacity, and planning resources to prepare these programs. The internal fiduciary loss in labor, research, Polina building, and design is estimated to exceed over $1 million. The external loss, unrecoverable state, philanthropic, and federal co-investment is even greater. This board's fiduciary duty includes ensuring investments reflect strategic priorities and community trust. Cuts of this scale made midstream and without due process risk undermining both. The largest cut falls on our Kulana Aina portfolio, a comprehensive, community-rooted initiative to support mahiai, food producers, Aina-based entrepreneurs, and regenerative tourism ventures. These programs create jobs, they grow businesses, and they restore land. They build sovereignty economically, culturally, and environmentally. But just like Haloa needs water to thrive, these systems need consistent investment Without it, the flow is blocked. And that's what this budget decision ultimately comes down to. Do we keep the fight flowing? Do we keep MIMO in motion? This is not the beginning of our work. This is the middle. The execution phase. MIMO is your plan. Econ is your delivery team for directions 7 and 8. Cutting this funding sends a clear message that our communities must continue to wait, even when we are finally ready to deliver. We respectfully ask this board to restore Econ's FY 26-27 implementation budget, protect the community-facing programs that are ready to move, and honor the intent and investment of MIMO, not in word, but in action. We don't need to start over. We just need to honor the work that's already done. This moment is not about politics. It's about purpose and whether we choose to fulfill it or not. Mahalo.
Success.
Go ahead, go ahead.
The vice chair is taking the chairs.
Yeah,
Mahalo.
sorry.
No. Mahalo, Vice Chair. Alo me ka koe nā ka huai vai o ke kēna kule ana Hawaii. Na ho aina, ka lehu o ka lahui. Maloko nei lumi, ma waho ma ka punai vele. E na ho hana, ka ohana a oha, ke aloha ka aina, ia o ko paka ia pau. Before I move on with my testimony, I just want to preface, I'm not legally trained and I may cite some law, but that is in fact not legal advice. It is simply providing context for the way and the foundation of how we strategized to carry out and effectuate Mani Maliola. O ono ke ia o kui ke o kalania ali kumakani kamakea o helo. And I serve you as your Director of Oiwi Wellbeing and Aina Momona within the Office of Strategy and Implementation here at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. The newest Department of OHA, established just a year ago by our CEO to drive implementation of Mani Mauliola, OHA's 15-year strategic plan codified by this board in 2020. I choose to work at OHA because I'm trying to be a great ancestor. The work I lead, our strategies, investments, and relationships is not just policy, it is a promise. A promise to our mo'opuna that we will leave them a more just, healing, and pono world. This is the core of my commitment. Over the past year, we have done the work that this kuleana demands. We've convened community, consulted with them across the Pai'aina. We've stood with beneficiaries in trauma, recovery, and transformation. And we've represented the Office of Hawaiian Affairs on the Malama Ohana Working Group, created by the state legislature to address long-standing disparities in our justice and child welfare systems. That group's 2024 final report makes a clear recommendation, and I quote, "Create a culturally based family court system or process for Native Hawaiian families similar to tribal courts," end quote. And in direct response, our office developed the Native Hawaiian Specialty Court Pilot and the Pu'uhonua Malama'aina Restorative Justice Program. Initiatives rooted in Ike Kupuna, supported by research and aligned with Mani Mauliola Outcomes 3.1 and 3.3, which call for healing-centered, culturally grounded approaches to systemic transformation. Again,
It calls for healing-centered, culturally grounded approaches to systemic transformation. However, last week, the proposed FY 26-27 biennium budget was posted. It reflects a 97% reduction in my programmatic budget request. This level of reduction makes implementation of our community-driven, board-directed strategies functionally impossible. On top of this, there's a proposed internal restructuring that would remove our department from direct reporting to our CEO, effectively decoupling the strategic implementation from the very office tasked with vision and oversight under board policy and governance precedent. These changes are not just operational, they're existential. They disrupt the architecture built by this very board and our CEO to ensure Mani Maliole becomes a lived reality for our Lahui. It's not just words. And they send a chilling signal to communities that even when we listen, even when we build in collaboration, even when we align with state-level recommendations, our efforts can be dismissed with a single budget post. OHA is not simply a funding agency. We are the Native Hawaiian institution with constitutional, statutory, and cultural responsibilities. Article 12, Section 5 of the Hawaii State Constitution, HRS 10-3. And this board's very own strategic plan, Mani Maliola, mandate that we respond to Native Hawaiian needs through consultation and strategic investment. We have honored that mandate. So today and Monday, with deep aloha and resolve, I ask of this board, committee, and the greater board on Monday to 1, restore funding for these essential justice and healing programs. 2, preserve the integrity of the organizational structure as we steward OHA's future, ensuring strategy remains connected to vision that is critically important for our Lahui. And 3, commit to transparency, process, and shared kuleana. I know this work is not easy, but it's necessary. I stand in it, not for personal legacy, but because I believe our mo'opuna are watching. And what you decide on Monday will ripple into there tomorrow. Don't ever forget that. Mahalo nui for your time and consideration. Ya oko na kahuwaivai o oha. O wau nokia me ka ha'a'a. Mahalo. Thank you, Koike.
Mr. Chair, I just want to interject about that subject matter he just brought up. This morning, I had the privilege of attending the Women's Prison Court in the Supreme Court of Hawaii, where 6 ladies graduated from that court. And of the 6 women that graduated, 5 were Hawaiians. So it really matters that we have that kind of help for our people. I just want to share that because it's the first court that graduated today.
Thank you. All right.
We were hoping that Anuhea Awo-chan would be able to join us at the table, but she's at a meeting. Her programs in S&I under education were also cut severely, eliminated, deleted from the budget. And we would like to ask for those programs to be restored as well. Strategy and implementation, education pathways, education programming.
The
were
entire
deleted.
budget?
Elena, do you know what was eliminated from her budget? Stand by, Elena will come and share.
Give me one moment.
Sure.
So the programs that were eliminated from education pathways under SNI was the curriculum resources, which is 705,000. The Mo'olelo program, 400,000. That only left a grants and aid program, Aha'opio, and the DC Fellowship, which were trustee initiative led.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
That's it for this, for now.
Is that it for the presentation?
That's it for now.
Alana?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted, and in conferring with the committee chair, when we were interrupted, the committee chair has authorized me to say this, that she was involved in the action item that's before her committee today, and that she found the presentation helpful by the administration. And my early comments, I was not privy to any of what was going to be presented today. So my early comments today were based on what I thought I was hearing about legal duties of the board, and I feel that I made the appropriate objections to that. But subsequent to that, the presentations about how the budget impacts various payas within OHA, I believe that the board has found that to be helpful, is what was indicated to me. And that type of comparison, that type of discussion about impact and coming from the board, from the administration, from the administration, is a type of helpful information that is being presented to the board. And so I wanted to just clarify that was the issues that I was having early on, not being privy at all to what was being presented today. And like I said, that type of information is really the type of information that the board needs to have in making its final decisions. Thank you.
I have been, yeah, I just wanted to say something. Thank you so much, everyone, for your profound input, because it helped us to understand the deeper meaning behind all what you have worked so hard to do, to bring to the board on, to bring to the board your deep concerns regarding the budget that you had first presented to us, and the lack of knowledge. And as I've mentioned before in my first opening statement, that, although I'm new to all of this, and I'm learning as I go, and so I take the lead from those who have had experiences, so forth. At the same time, I know that mistakes will be made, and that I've learned. This is an incredible learning experience. But at the same time, I also want you folks to know that I have your back. And I hope and believe that all what you have shared for us today has given us a deeper understanding of the budgets that were, you folks had originally allocated were for all of these specific purposes that will certainly address the conditions, the living conditions of our Hawaiian people. And we can't do it without you. And I understand the importance of these positions that had to be in place for these specific reasons that you all shared. And I want to see to it that you folks will be able to, based on our board decisions, to continue your incredible work that I so greatly appreciate. And on behalf of the board and my committee, we greatly appreciate all that you folks have done. I just hope and I pray to Keiko over the next few days, we're going to need that, that we make the correct decisions come Monday and that we do it so that everyone involved will be able to be happy. And I'm not sure everyone's be happy, but majority, so that we can move forward and see to that all that we are tasked to do will come to fruition in the 2 years of our biennium budget. And at this time, I'd like to adjourn and ask for a motion to adjourn. Okay, I cannot. I'm just going to adjourn it because I don't have a quorum. So there it is. We done. Okay. Thank you.